Welcome back, friends. This is Adnan Qaiser with part 2 of our discussion on China-Pakistan bilateral relations or diplomatic relations. Um, so again, as you know, that we are talking in a wider context of China-Pakistan economic corridor and the handover of Gwadar Deep Sea Port to China under this China's Belt and Road Initiative. So in part 5, I had given you the first section of China-Pakistan's relations, and in this part 6, we will be continuing with our discussion on Sino-Pak relations. So the key to close bilateral and or diplomatic relations between China and Pakistan had been the frequency of both countries' high level exchange of visits between the two, which culminated in the signing of a treaty. It was called the Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Good Neighborly Relations in April 2005. This agreement binds the two signatories together to abstain from joining any alliance or bloc which infringes upon the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of the other side. This treaty, ladies and gentlemen, reminds me of the treaty which India had signed with the Soviet Union in August 1971, and I have referred it in the previous discussions too, after which India became more emboldened. India not only played a major role in dissecting Pakistan into two parts and creation of Bangladesh in December 1971, but also defeated Pakistan in the 1971 war. And very importantly, India also carried out its first nuclear test, which India calls as a peaceful nuclear explosion in May 1974. So, as with this signing of China-Pakistan bilateral treaty, I also foresee a lot of regional transformations taking place uh, in this region. So at the BOW Forum for Asia in April 2012, former Pakistani Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani went a step further, and he declared that China's friend is our friend and China's enemy is Pakistan's enemy. So, Pakistan China relations saw a lull for 5 years or a low period during the Pakistan's People's Party's government in 2000 from 2008 to 2013. It's useless to talk about that unfortunate period when Pakistan's relations were bad with even Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan took several disastrous decisions and made poor compromises against its national interest. Remember, in the beginning, I had mentioned that it's our political elites which have been making short term and decisions for their own vested interests. So it's a huge debate, but this is very unfortunate for us as a nation, as a Pakistani nation. We also want to grow and become more prosperous. But unless this feudal system and our present political culture does not change, I don't see any hopes in the future. But anyway, so among the disasters unleashed by the PPP government, now one was not to contest the accusation on Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jamaat dawa, and by extension on Pakistan and its intelligence agency for allegedly carrying out Mumbai attacks on 26th of November 2008. For the first time in the history of Pakistan-China relations, China did not veto a UN Security Council resolution blacklisting Lashkar-e-Taiba. And mind you, ladies and gentlemen, no concrete evidence has still been put forward that could prove to that effect of Pakistan's connivance or anything, a connection in those Mumbai attacks in 2008. So the PPP government further decided not to protest or challenge India's membership to the nuclear suppliers group through a special waiver which was given to it, which carried a lot of negative repercussions for Pakistan and its nuclear program. However, China-Pakistan relations spurred into action once again when the government of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif came into power in June 2013. During Prime Minister Li Keqiang's unprecedented visit to Pakistan on 22nd and 23rd May 2013, he was presented with Pakistan's highest civil award, the Nishan-e-Pakistan, even before Nawaz Sharif had taken oath of the office. So Nawaz Sharif again, in return, he broke the tradition of visiting Saudi Arabia by any head of the Pakistani government. The tradition is that he or she pays first visit to Saudi Arabia after coming into office. But instead, Mr. Sharif went to Beijing on 2nd of July 2013 to consolidate this faltering relation between the two countries. So that visit resulted in the signing of a lot of bilateral agreements. And I believe that the preliminary stage of the CPEC agreement was also signed at that time in 2013, although the final shape of the agreement was signed when President Xi Jinping visited Pakistan in 2015. And importantly, as I mentioned, that China had in the past never helped Pakistan financially, but to show solidarity to Mr. Nawaz Sharif's government for the first time in the history of Sino-Pak relations, Beijing came in a major way to assist Pakistan's ailing economy by allowing Pakistan to utilize $1 billion under China's safe deposits to meet Pakistan's budgetary support requirements on 24th of June 2013. As I have already said, that the cooperation between Pakistan and China in the fields of nuclear technology and weapons procurement have been extensive and wide-ranging. Both the countries have also established very, very deep and robust defense production systems too. Pakistan's nuclear programs, uranium enrichment centrifuges were also said to be made on China's P-1 designs. So much so that Pakistan's initial ballistic missiles were also said to be made on Chinese and North Korean technology. It was Nodong missiles technology. So China is also helping out Pakistan with the Merving technology for its ballistic missiles. Again, I've kept this this discussion during when I plan to talk to you guys about the South Asia's nuclear issue. But Merving is a concept in ballistic missile technology. Just understand that MERV stands for Multiple Independent Re-entry Vehicles. So when we talk about ballistic missiles, remember there are two atmospheres. One is endo-atmosphere and one is exo-atmosphere. So endo-atmosphere is about 100 kilometer in range closer to the Earth, and exo is atmosphere way up in space. So a ballistic missile first goes into the outer space and then re-enters into the endo-atmosphere to hit its target. So MERVs are actually a number of warheads installed on one single ballistic missile. As the missile re-enters into the endo-atmosphere, or say the Earth's zone, the warheads leave their mothership and head towards their individual targets. So MERVs are basically meant to fail your enemies or another country's ballistic defense shield, which is also called as BMD. India has a BMD. We'll talk about it in detail later on. So China is helping Pakistan with the MERV technology as well. Although not many details are available in the public about Pakistan-China nuclear cooperation, however, we know that China has helped Pakistan in building 4 nuclear reactors or power plants at Chashma. Another 3 nuclear reactors or power plants, call them whatever, are under construction, with 2 at Karachi and 1 at Chashma under the new agreements. So, under the Nuclear Suppliers Group or NSG, China is not supposed to provide any nuclear assistance or cooperation with any country that has not signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, or what we call as NPT. As you know, that Pakistan has yet to sign the NPT because it links signing of NPT with India due to a number of reasons. So, which obviously keeps the South Asian region destabilized and preoccupied. But China has been exploiting a grandfather clause in this in NSG, which allows China to carry on with its nuclear cooperation with any country, whether or not it has signed NPT or not, but anything which predates 2004, because China became an NSG member in 2004, 28th May 2004. So it is allowed to honor its commitment and agreements made before 2004, and that's how China is helping out Pakistan in the nuclear field. Furthermore, as I mentioned, that in order to counter India's ballistic defense shield, which apparently has the ability to counter all of Pakistan's surface-to-surface ballistic missiles, Pakistan has accelerated its production or development of Rad and Babar cruise missiles with the help of China. Remember, Rad is an air-launched cruise missile, and Babar can be launched either from land or sea. It's again a different discussion about these cruise missiles, but just for the moment, understand that by having these 2 types of cruise missiles, Pakistan has attained a strategic capability which is called as nuclear second strike capability. I will brief you about that as well. So it would not be wrong to say that the essence of Sino-Pak relations have been lying in defense cooperation and joint defense production before this Gwadar and CPEC came into being. Since 1990s, when the United States imposed economic sanctions on Pakistan for pursuing its nuclear program, we saw a major shift in Pakistan's outlook and its arms procurement. The economic sanctions, if you remember, had denied Pakistan some of the fighter jets, F-16 fighter jets, which had to come from United States, which ironically Pakistan had paid for. But they did not arrive. So that was a major setback for Pakistan at that time. So then Pakistan gradually moved from the United States and other Western countries to China. An increasing number of Pakistan Armed Forces weapon system have been gradually transferred to Chinese technology. I just read a report in Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. It's also called as CIPRI. According to this, until 2017, Pakistan was the 9th largest importer of weapons in the world, and with which 70% were imported from China. So, huge amount of defense cooperation and arms procurement. And I have also noticed that Pakistani military officers used to pay a visit to Western countries after the end of their staff courses or war courses, but now more and more are regularly visiting China. They might be visiting Western countries as well, but the focus has changed towards China. So, again, this can be termed as a major shift in the outlook and orientation of Pakistan's army. And you have must have read in the newspaper lately that U.S. has stopped training Pakistan Army officers, training which used to be conducted under IMET. IMET is the International Military Education and Training Program, which Pakistan and United States used to have, but this ended in August 2018. And then Russia has stepped in, very interestingly, and now Russia has agreed to provide military training to the Pakistani military officers. So United States has also stopped paying Pakistan the coalition support fund. There was about $300 million of coalition support fund, which Pakistan used to get or reimbursed to Pakistan for participating in the war on terror. Which obviously, you know, that Pakistan had been a frontline ally against this war against terrorism. So again, refer to Henry Kissinger. No permanent friends, but just permanent interests. So Pakistan cannot be blamed for changing its orientation and outlook towards China and Russia now. This shift, basically, as I have mentioned, and you understand also, has been due to unreliability of continued U.S. defense assistance, upgrade facilities, and provision of supply of spare parts during times of diplomatic friction and economic sanctions. So today, Pakistan's heavy industrial complex and at Texla and Kamra Aeronautical Base are making landmark achievements in terms of Sino-Pak joint defense production. Their successes range from Al Khalid and Al Zarrar main battle tanks to avionics, to night vision devices, to fiber optic cables, and the adoption of a Chinese GPS satellite system called Beidou. Strange name. Anyway, moreover, China and Pakistan, as you know, have been jointly producing GF-17 Thunder fighter aircrafts as well. Also, Karakoram 8 jet trainers, and also building naval frigates, fast attack crafts or FACs, and patrol boats at Karachi shipyard. Just a few days ago, I learned that China is producing eight submarines for Pakistan Navy. So understand the extent and enormity of defense cooperation and collaboration in the field of between China and Pakistan. So, expressing his satisfaction on the joint defense production, former Pakistani President General Pervez Musharraf said this on one of his visits to Beijing on 25th of February 2006. So, I just want to quote for you. He said, "These developments are considered to be a great success, particularly taking into account that defense relations have been the bedrock of Sino-Pakistan relations." So as I mentioned in the beginning, that before this Gwadar and CPEC, the defense and nuclear collaboration had been the bedrock of Sino-Pak relations. So again, the areas of cooperation have been endless, and those of the students who are interested to read more about Sino-Pak relations, they should read this book. It is called The China-Pakistan Axis: Asia's New Geopolitics, written by a gentleman named Andrew Small. Andrew Small, The China-Pakistan Axis. Wonderful book. So You might know that it has been only through China's help that Pakistan became a permanent member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization on 9th of June 2017. And it would not be wrong to assume that it has been China's persuasion and facilitation which resulted in Russia lifting its arms embargo on Pakistan to sell four Mi-35 gunship helicopters to Pakistan in August 2017. I mentioned earlier that Pakistan's relations with Russia were extremely sour in the past because Pakistan obviously belonged to the US camp during the Cold War, and Pakistan also played a frontline state role during the Afghan Jihad of 1980s against Soviet Union. So, but this seems to be changing now as Pakistan is becoming an active member of a regional club comprising of Iran, Russia, China, and of course Pakistan and Turkey, maybe. You must have read about a secret meeting which took place in Islamabad among the heads of the intelligence agencies belonging to these four countries Iran, Russia, China, and Pakistan, which was held in Islamabad on 11th of July 2018. This meeting was extremely rare in nature because it was meant to plan and safeguard this region from the terror of Daesh. We also call it Islamic State, which is threatening the whole region. This is a reincarnation of Al Qaeda, and you know that this world and the region, and especially Pakistan, has suffered a lot at the hands of terrorism. So no terror group can now be allowed to fester and threaten our security again. You must have also noted the military exercises that took place in Russia in August 2018 under the auspices of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, in which the army or military contingents from Pakistan as well as India participated. This was against counterterrorism, or it was to counter the terrorism threat. And since this SCO or Shanghai Pact was created on 15th of June 2001, I have always maintained that this economic platform will eventually turn into a full-fledged military alliance one day. And we are proceeding towards that. These military maneuvers which took place in August 2018, just an indication that one day this Shanghai platform could become a military alliance, just like NATO. So things are changing, and things are changing pretty fast. With this, I come to the conclusion of our chapter on Sino-Pak relations. I hope you have gained some valuable insight into this. But before I go, I want to repeat my concerns and apprehensions about Pakistan putting all its eggs in the Chinese basket. Again, I refer you back to the Henry Kissinger's quote about that the countries do not have permanent friends. They only have permanent interests. So similarly, we must be mindful of China, that China has strategic ambitions to become a global power one day, in which our utility and benefit could be compromised one day. To put it another way, a situation may arise in the future when China may have to choose between us and somebody else, or may have to sacrifice our long-standing friendship for China's own larger geopolitical interests. So I'll draw a parallel to the famous quote by the former U.S. Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. I remember he mentioned to us about knowns and unknowns. I say that in geopolitics or international relations, some positions of our friends or countries are known, which are called as known knowns. Some can be anticipated, which can be termed as unknown knowns. So those we already know are known knowns, and what can be anticipated, could be unknown knowns. However, sometimes an altogether unique or an unexpected situation may arise, which can be classified as unknown unknowns. So very important. So Pak Chin Dosti, as we have been listening and watching since our childhood, ladies and gentlemen, may be pretty resolute and strong at the moment, yet it remains prone to the future tests of time. I thank you for listening to this chapter on Sino-Pak relations, part 5 as well as part 6. I know these are lengthy debates, but I hope you're getting some kind of an insight or value out of this thing. I will come with the next part on CPEC's master plan, as came out in a leading newspaper of Pakistan in 2017. It's very important for you to understand that. And then again, I will leave you guys to make your own conclusions and and decisions. So until then, please take good care of yourself and Khuda Hafiz.